for having us. This is a very cool show.
Yeah, so through many iterations, and we finally landed on the weirdest one by far.
Yeah, simple of feelings, and boom, you got a sound.
I remember this one time. I'd been writing some songs, and I went out. I'm just going right in on this story. I went out, and so I was.
The story's longer than the song itself. We'll go ahead and play it.
And listen, it's going to be everybody's favorite band. Welcome to your next favorite band. That's both the show title and our promise to you. We here at Stereophilia Studio are tireless in our pursuit of finding incredible, genre-defiant artists who are either a hot up-and-coming band or a group that has been delivering for years but have flown under the radar. Tonight, some thankful knucklehead banter. Each month, we will bring you live streams, audio podcasts, and perhaps even a live concert where you can listen to the stories and hear the music of artists personally curated by us based on what we feel will be worthy of your time. Be sure to subscribe and tune in to each episode because the possibilities are endless and you never know who will be your next favorite band. Hello, everyone. I am your host, Phillip Reese.
And I am your co-host, David Moore.
And this is
your next favorite band.
That sounds good.
I'm trying.
Did you ever know that you said that in the beginning of the Music Fest exordium?
Right.
And when I edited it into 5 separate episodes, I kept that part across all 5 of them. So they all start the same way with you just go, I'm trying. I think I got such a kick out of that. I don't know if anybody else picked that up, but it was my own little
trying to explain. I'm
Easter
explaining
egg.
most relationships I have at this point in time in my life.
I'm trying.
I'm trying.
That's really all we can ask for.
Right. I mean, I've got 2 kids. I've got a wife. That's basically what I've got left at this point in time.
An effort.
I'm trying.
There we go.
Yeah, see?
So here we are in the Reese Plot's living room.
We are physically together in the same space.
Not that happens unoften, but for the show.
Yeah, correct.
Unique.
It is distinctive for this episode.
Mm-hmm.
The last time we did this together was the Music Fest recap.
Yeah,
where
in Bond Place.
Where we recorded an episode at least together. Yep. So it has been quite a minute since then. So we're talking almost 4 months since then. So if anybody is looking to catch up, that would be the next episode in the, I guess, some sort of trilogy of what if they're in the same spot?
Right. Yes. Yeah. Some sort of story arc that's going on. The nice part is that since that Music Fest recap, we've done.
Nice.
How about that fire?
It's real.
It's real. That's
there's proof that it's real.
Unless we had it just timed that way.
Yeah. Nice Foley work.
Yes. Right. The show has done an interview one every week since then.
That is correct. We've done an interview every week since then with some amazing and very interesting people.
Absolutely. Very, very cool. And we have some cool news about that too, where you can kind of go in and take a look back and see, which ones are out there that you might have missed, or maybe some artists that you didn't know that we spoke to. So we're going to bring that up a little bit later. But we wanted to start tonight kind of recapping some music, some live music. It's what we do. So
it's true. It seems to be the thing, though. In this case, it was you say we. This was a you.
A me. Yes.
Yeah, this was a you thing.
Mm-hmm. So this past week, I happened to be able to catch what I love all of the music that we find equally, of course.
Sure.
But if I had to pick my favorite find from Music Fest, it was going to be Screaming Female.
Yeah, I didn't see their whole set when we were at Music Fest. I saw the end of their set. Mm-hmm. It, like a lot of festivals, there's crossovers with schedules, and we've discussed that in much detail. But anybody that's been to a large scale music festival is well aware of I'm trying to get from the blue stage to the red stage or whatever, the kind of thing that you're trying to do.
Correct.
And I caught the end of their set. So I caught, I think, the last 3 songs of their set. And they were outstanding even for just 3 songs.
Yep.
You, on the other hand.
Yeah, so I caught the majority of it, but still not the whole thing. And I regretted it because I was trying to do the typical fit 2 in at once. but I knew I wanted to see the majority of that one. So I was like, I think they played 90 minutes.
They did 90-minute slot.
So I was like, all right, the first 30, I'll be over here. I'll catch the last
Well, that
hour.
was exactly what happened with mine, which was I caught an hour of somebody else and then like the 10 minutes or whatever it takes to move
That's right.
to the next stage. And I caught the last 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, and within moments of walking up, I was like, oh, I made a mistake there. Should have, as much as I don't even remember who it was, but I enjoyed what I saw beforehand. But this was one of those kind of must-see.
It made a mark.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like the kind of music that you just definitely want to hear live. Like a lot of people have said, oh, tell me a few songs to listen to. I'm like,
yeah,
I can, but they're definitely just, you want to hear them live.
Yeah, I'll give you some stuff to check out. That being said, it's not the same.
Correct. They're just just an absolute onslaught of just the noise, like the music and how good they are there. We were talking about it a little bit before, how they have a punk feel to them.
Yeah, they play with a punk energy, and there's an onslaught of like everything up.
Yes. And so that is just what you're bathing in that. And it's just like, it's so infectious. And they do also play songs very tight. So like it's one after another after another. So you're on a fever pitch till the end.
I mean, it literally is. I don't necessarily want to say Ramones, but they're the first band that came to mind where it's that the song stops. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
The song starts.
So I do have some video here as I like to try and bring along. Now, here's the interesting thing too, is I went to go see the show knowing full well they were the opener of 3.
Right.
I was pretty much in my heart expecting 30 minutes. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But it was fully worth it for me because I don't know when the next time I'm going to capture it. So it was them, Touche Amore, and the Menzingers. So I was like, well, cool. I don't know much about the other two. So we'll see what they're all about as well.
That's the jam. So you figured you might as well check it out.
Yeah. So here is some of the Screaming Female set. It's a wonderful, like just kind of solo moment for the 3 of them, which then, like we just talked about, goes right into another amazing
I
song.
think just before you jump in, it's worth, at least for anybody that hasn't heard them, to give a little bit of context. There's 3 players.
Yes.
Power trio kind of set up.
Yep.
The singer, whose name I don't...
Marissa Paternoster.
Thank you.
And she...
Thank you for getting that last name right.
Yes.
That was the one that I was going to stumble on.
She might be the best guitarist I've ever seen live, which most people are like, wow, that's a bold statement because they know I've seen a lot.
Sure.
But I still stand by it. So every time I'm just like in awe. You'll see it again here. There's probably 2 different solos that she just blows out of the water, and it's amazing.
Sock it to me.
And then, it's Jarrett on drums and King Mike on bass. And here is the Screaming Females. See, like, just a wonderful little solo moment here, and the nonverbal communication that goes on between band members. I just love that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it is. We talk about the punk energy.
Look at this.
But I mean, I don't want to
Holy smokes!
I don't want to talk over that. But my point being is punk energy. But we were talking about this beforehand. It's the punk energy, but it's almost like a classic rock guitar solo attitude that also is fused into that.
Yes.
And I think that is it's a great. The term power trio gets applied easily.
Yeah. And here it just so punk, so great.
Oh yeah, yeah.
To it as well, where it's like very listenable.
Oh yeah, no, you can almost hum along.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Next song.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes. So that is the Screaming Females. Absolutely just like I almost wanted to see them again to just make sure, like, was that just a special night? Like,
sure.
Which I know their following is such that it's like that can't be the case, but like I was just like, make sure it's just going to ring my ears in the same way.
Yep.
And it was like I was just right back into just I get a giggly feel. Like I'm just like I can't believe what's happening in front of me right now.
Well, and that was in a theater versus before seeing them in a tent.
Correct.
And I think you probably benefited from seeing them even in a theater space because there's a rock and roll, the big reverb and everything like that happens in that space.
Yeah. So they're also very like I went up to the merch after their set. They were slinging their own merch at the time because obviously that's what they have to do when they're on tour. And I asked if they would sign the vinyl that I purchased, and they were like, "Sure." And then I look around and there's no Sharpie. And wouldn't you know, they went all the way backstage to go get a Sharpie, came all the way back. I mean, just like they didn't have to do that. Like
that is the one thing that I've learned. It's funny that you mentioned that. So when we went to the beaches not too long ago, we were talking about that. I have for years brought a Sharpie with me. I stopped doing it during COVID because we stopped doing anything.
Sure.
But it was one of those things because of those moments where you could be like this. Here you go.
I got it, yeah.
And then you let them keep it.
Right.
Because then you're like, no, you obviously need that.
Yep, there'll be people behind me.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Super nice. And they were even driving, the whole crew was playing in Boston the next night, and they were going to try and do.
And so for reference, you saw them in Virginia. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's a 9-hour, probably 10-hour trek for them.
Yeah. I mean, it's 5 to 6 to us.
Right.
And then
we're probably another 6.
So they were going to try and bite off as much of that as they could that evening after everyone was done. So again, they easily could have been like trying to wrap things up quickly. Did not affect them at all. Real quickly, I have like 60 seconds of the other two performers.
Sure.
Touche Amore. These are all Philly-based-ish bands. You know, Screaming Females is Jersey, but like this kind of
the greater metro area.
Right.
Yeah,
Jersey, Philly, Delaware kind of thing. So Touche Amore, not my kind of sound, but their following is tremendous. You'll see if you look at the bottom of the image, you're going to see a lot of people singing along.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of people totally into it. So here's Touche Amore.
Let's go!
People sing along, play along. I like the music. This is just not my kind of vocals.
Right, and maybe somebody else's. So if this is the kind of thing you dig, you want more of that like angst-ridden vocal thing that is all about the sort of like almost yell scream type performance.
Yep.
They're a band you should maybe check out. You know, if that's the kind of thing you like.
Yeah.
I get it. I am partial to a singer. You can sweet talk me almost in any band if the singer's great.
Yes.
Like, how's the music? How's the singer? Amazing. And I'm already there. So,
and for my ears, this is the opposite, where the music was great, and the singer is just not for me. But again, to your point, I get it. I can see why someone would certainly be into that, and clearly the evidence was right there in front of everyone.
Yeah, that's not a dismissing anything they're doing.
Not at all.
That's more along the lines of the what's your favorite color question.
Correct.
There's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer.
No wrong answer. And then lastly was the Menzingers. They've got a huge following.
Yeah.
To me, they had a Philly version of Dropkick Murphys kind of vibe. Again, that's hopefully hugely respectful. Like
Celtic rock music with a hoagie reference. Is that the Philly vibe?
You might see what I mean. No, more like Dropkick Murphys is Boston.
I know. I'm just having some fun since you made that.
Yeah.
I had to think of the most Philly thing I could think of immediately.
Yes, there you go. Soft press. I don't know. But the Menzingers were fun. Like I really kind of got into that. And the fun part about this, again, the audience is about as much fun to watch as the band.
Yeah.
And you're going to see about halfway into it a very cool crowd surfing, which I didn't think was still a thing. But check out the Menzingers here.
I'm marching up to your gates today. Follow me so away. I don't think you can take it back. I'm marching up to your gates today. Follow
here comes the crowd surfer.
I fed the liars. I fed the liars. I fed the liars. Everything I got in my cabinet brain of canned thoughts.
Here it is.
It was everything.
Which I just thought was a really cool.
You got a
Good
good,
too.
you got a good shot of it. You're at a good level. Like
Got it. Yeah.
I think you're. What are you?
I'm up on ramp.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
You're either up on some sort of back portion. It reminds me of the space you're in, and I can't obviously see that all in the shot. It reminds me of Union Transfer on how there's that spacer, the lifted edge around the outside of the floor.
It only had one floor. It wasn't
Right, didn't
two
have
floors.
the second balcony, right.
So it was probably a little bit more Ardmore music hall-ish mixed with that. Like, because it was an old theater. It's the National in Richmond, Virginia.
We're gonna open that win.
Yes,
Like that's what you just described sounds great to me.
Yes, we need one in Bethlehem. So anyway, really fun music. Definitely sing-along type stuff.
Yeah.
So if I knew it even better, it would be even that much
This
more
is a band,
enjoyable
if I
of a
had
show.
seen them, like you said, you came along to see the one band, and if they were playing,
Yeah.
I would have enjoyed that. Like
Yes.
that to me was one of these, like, oh, I'll see them again.
Right. Right.
Which is, as far as I'm concerned, about the best endorsement you can possibly make, which is,
No, that's true.
you know,
I think that would be the thing is we're all looking for is like, you know,
you're right.
Oh, I would go see that.
Yeah.
So that right there is kind of proof of what we're trying to do is like, let me or you or us bring this to someone who's listening and say, yeah, I'll go check that out.
Yeah, I think that's the goal is to not, we use the term next favorite band because it's fun.
Yeah.
And it sounds enthusiastic and we want to be enthusiastic.
Yes.
That being said, really the goal is to make you go like this, huh? I should listen to more of that.
Yes.
And
that's absolutely true.
we've hopefully achieved that for somebody out there
Yeah.
because, we're coming up on, so this is going to be Thanksgiving,
Yes.
which is an important time of the year.
Yeah.
To
And that's what this
be
whole
grateful
Yeah.
about things.
Yeah, we wanted that, as you heard it in the open.
Yeah.
We wanted this to be about gratitude and thankfulness. And, it's like one of those things where it's, it's a very special thing. We get to do this as a hobby.
Yeah.
I still pinch myself every time I ask somebody to be on the show and they say yes. I'm always just like, I ask just to be ballsy and because I want to do the show, but I don't expect anybody to say yes.
Right.
And then when they say, yeah, sure, that sounds great. I'm like, really?
Is often.
And so I have such thankfulness to all of the musicians that we've already had on, that we're talking to bring on.
Yeah, the time they've allowed us to spend
Yeah.
with them has been very great, and I am appreciative of that and
Yeah.
very grateful for that. And it's very interesting to get to a chance to speak with
Mhm.
these. And afterwards, you always have those moments where you're like, oh, I wish I would have asked
Mhm.
because there's a limit on how much time we get to spend.
Of course.
But I'm always grateful for that time, and
Yeah.
especially grateful for also some of the things where we get to see an exclusive performance.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, the access, the vulnerability, even, like we've been getting into some really interesting
Yeah, absolutely.
moments with people where they are either opening up about things that were painful or a difficult time
Yeah,
for
something
them.
complicated.
Yeah.
That there, it's not just and then I wrote a song. It's
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's definitely more than that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very something that we don't want to ever take for granted. We want those to be the kinds of things that we
Absolutely not.
cherish, and hopefully do it in a way that they felt comfortable, that they would want to share and divulge that
Yeah.
because it's something that's important to share. I think a lot of the things that we're trying to do is say that particular situation, someone out there might be struggling with the
Mhm.
same exact thing.
100%.
And so by making it more accessible, more normalized, all those different things, it suddenly makes that other person maybe not feel so alone. And most of these musicians have understood that and said, yes, let's talk about that because it's important.
And in some of those cases, what we're doing is we'll talk at first about their songs or their album or their tour or
Mhm.
something that's
Yep.
relevant to the thought when you say we're talking to a musician.
Mhm.
But then you get to the other side, which is you published this article.
Yep.
And so we then want to say, well, let's talk about that article.
Correct.
And we have an opportunity, in many cases, probably to say more words than were actually in
Mhm.
the article. And I think that is sometimes it's both eye-opening
Mhm.
and it is humanizing.
Yeah.
And I think that's important just to sometimes understand that these are people and they have people problems. And as you said,
Mhm.
their problems probably reflects in somebody else.
Yes.
And somebody else may find comfort or even a sense of symmetry.
Yeah.
In all
and
of that.
belonging. Like, I think that's another one.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
that. It's like, oh wow, like someone else feels that same way. So I think dinner's done is what that is. Actually, I was worried it was a fire alarm because I was like, you never know. And then I was like,
hopefully that mic didn't pick that up, but there was a beep in the background that just went
I'm
off.
gonna guess with that high pitch, it probably did get picked up.
Yep.
So don't worry, it's just the crock pot's done cooking.
Yes, it looks good, by the way.
And it smells good too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that you know, the sense of belonging that it might bring to somebody is also kind of humbling, I will say.
That's a great word.
Yeah, is if that's something else that can come from this, you know, wow.
Yeah, I think it's almost a greater goal.
Yeah. So within that, I think I want to be thankful for you, David. Like,
well, that's very kind. I will be thankful, Phil, thanks for inviting me along on this ride.
Yeah.
You started it. You took a chance.
Mm-hmm.
I think you almost invited me because you know that I'm the person that lives closest to you.
That's not true.
I know I hope not,
Right.
but I'm joking because that would imply that we only see each other once every 4 months. By the way, we do these.
That's true.
Which is not
Yeah,
true.
not the case.
But it is. It's so far it's been fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think to myself is the part that I am enjoying the most because you use the word hobby before. A hobby is supposed to be something that you just find joy in.
Yes.
Even if it's like a slice frustration, the idea of thought of building a puzzle.
Yeah.
You're like, I can't find that piece. Ultimately, at the end,
Yes.
there was joy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, what I think the goal is.
Yeah. Yeah. And even like, so not only just show prep and, the effort that all goes into that kind of stuff, but also the whole website is all you're doing. So we're going to touch on that in a second here, because it's been recently massively overhauled in a wonderful way. So we're going to actually kind of preview that here. But thank you for all of that work as well. And then lastly, we want to thank all of you, the audience. And in one way in particular, that really came home in our prep for next week's guest. So this is also a little bit of a teaser for who's about to come on, because I think our next two are kind of really cool. Like I think it's again, people who are like, wow, I can't believe they're coming on the show. But
I think we actually did get that comment from somebody that we spoke to before about who was coming on.
Yeah.
But I do think it is a combination of, they're really cool, but cool feels like such a throwaway word. They're genuinely interesting,
and they're very
professionals
too. Like,
professionals, but
not that the musicians aren't, but we'll get to this. Right now.
We'll explain why. Yeah, just like, but they're also very different from one another. Though there was a similarity, which we'll touch on in just a second.
So next week is neuroscientist,
correct,
and musician Daniel Levitin,
author, right? Yeah.
Author,
yeah.
And so, and then real quick, so the week after that is Dan Drago.
Thus the similarities.
Both Daniel and Dan is what I understand. But Dan Drago does a podcast. He was a musician, turned into a podcast host, I guess you'd say. And it's a Philly-based music podcast where he brings on local Philly musicians.
It has certain similarities to what we're doing.
Correct. And I just celebrate that. I'm never going to think that that's a bad thing. Like, so we said to him, we're like, first of all, he checked out one of our episodes and promoted it.
Yeah, which was really kind.
Very kind. And so then we've asked him to come on our show just to shoot chew the cud, I guess you might say. I almost went with
I know what you tried to say there.
But talk about music.
That high-pitched beep would have been better timed at that point in time.
So he's actually going to come up here to Bethlehem. So it's another in-person interview it'll be the three of us.
And I'm actually looking forward to that, because I do think having someone in person, it's wonderful that we can do all these things over the internet, but there is just something about being face-to-face.
And back to Daniel Levitin. So he wrote a book called This Is Your Brain on Music, and I read it a long time ago, and then I've been re-listening to it on Audible. And if you want to sponsor our podcast, Audible, we'll definitely have a talk. I've been listening to
the most common podcast sponsor
I know,
after Stamps.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
well, I'll take Audible over Stamps, but so the book is fascinating, and it just dives into what your brain goes through when listening to music.
Yeah.
And so we just reached out to him. He said he's into it because he also released some new music recently. So we're going to talk about both things, which I think is awesome.
Yeah. Some of the people that have talked about his music are, one of them particularly who he has a blurb from, and I'm going to bring this up when we talk to him, is a hero of mine who I 30 years ago was fortunate enough to have lunch with. So we can also talk about that. So
that's terrific. So it should be I am a little intimidated to be able to be keeping up with him, but we'll give it our typical best shot. And he seems very down to earth. It won't be his issue; it'll be mine. But I just mean you're talking to a neuroscientist.
We may have conversations go like this. Okay, now explain it to me like I'm a 6-year-old.
Right, yeah.
And then we may go, that's too complicated.
Can you make my brain light up like in that? No, we're not going to do that. But so we're one thing in particular in the preparation for that interview, he had a chapter about why you like the music you like. And one of the elements from it, I don't want to like take away anything either from his book or if you want to read it or also from the interview for next week. But one of the things it did get on to was trust. And so it would talk about basically that in essence, your brain is in sync with the composer and the performer, which often is the same person. But anyway, that in essence, one of two things is kind of going on. You're giving yourself over to them or you're letting them come into you. So either way that you kind of slice it, there's an element of
it's probably a little of both to make it really
right.
that fusion that happens. Where
I think what he was getting at was, depending on the person you are,
I get that.
You may retain, but let them in, or you might say,
your personality and history.
Take me over.
Right.
But what he was saying is the reason why you either do or don't like certain music somewhat has to do with how much you trust that process. So you may listen to the same music over and over again because you can trust where it's going to go. Whereas if your interest in new music will be how much you will trust that composer or that performer. And where I'm getting at there is it struck me just for anyone who tunes in, they're putting an element of trust in us.
Correct.
And I was kind of, again, humbled by that realization
because
you're allowing us to introduce you to new music in a way that says, not only do I trust you, but I'm trusting the person you're going to have me listen to.
Yeah, I've really found that to be sort of part of the process.
Yeah.
When we first, you and I had tuned in the prior iteration of what this show was. But it was, and you had guests on that I was excited about,
right.
and then when we've kept going and we did it together, that was part of the process when you're like, hey, I've booked this person. And it was always those moments where it was like this. Cool. Because it was that trust moment where you're like, I'm going to embrace this.
Yeah.
And it is what I think we're hoping you are letting us into your ears or your eyes or both to do. And it has produced, we hinted at that earlier we're talking about the Screaming Females show.
Yeah.
Is that maybe you'll go check out a show or maybe you'll subscribe to them on your streaming platform of choice or you're like me and you bought a damn CD.
Right. Yeah.
And
the musicians obviously are trusting us to bring them on a show that's worth their time.
Correct.
That we're going to ask them questions, that are meaningful to them.
And it's going to reach a valid audience that is intrigued by what they're doing.
Yeah. So just it really, I was driving actually home from Richmond from the Screaming Female show, listening to that chapter. And I was just like, that's a lot of, again, just to keep using the word, that's a lot of trust that all of these people have in me and us. Like, I just more mean like the audience who's going to listen and tune in and say, yeah, that's cool. And then I might either purchase or go buy tickets to a show or just purchase their music for download.
But you just use the word humbling.
Yeah.
That really, there's a real touch point there.
Yeah. So I want to keep that vibe as we go forward. Like maybe we'll bring it into the show closing or, just at least make sure that we're embracing that mindset of respect and gratitude for that opportunity on both sides of this.
I see how you're going with that. And I like that idea a lot. We should talk about that off mic. It's the first time I've ever said that in my life. Like it implies that like Phil and I have that conversation like that all the time, which is not true. But
put it in the show notes.
So get the producer to work on it. You over there, that person that's not there. Make sure
he's pointing to a plant.
Yeah. That plant better get on its game.
Yes. So the element there is hope you tune in to the two Dans because they should be very, very good conversations.
I think both of those conversations are going to we're going to have the dilemma with both of those is keeping the conversation
move like getting to all the topics we want to get to.
I mean
in the right amount of time
in the time frame that we really have. I mean, I think because there is a lot of interesting things I would love to talk about with them, and I want to make sure that it sounds like we're talking to them and not just chit-chatting randomly at them.
Totally.
Because that could happen because I'm literally that enthusiastic about these conversations.
Me too. I can't wait.
Yeah.
So like we said, next Tuesday The 29th is Daniel Levitin.
Correct.
Then December 6th, Tuesday, is Dan Drago.
And then
the following Tuesday is our Winter WonderJam. That's where I wish we had some audio here. But,
December 13th.
December 13th. Here's the things we can confirm. 6:30 start time, like always.
Eastern time.
Eastern Standard, not Eastern time. Yes, now we are in Eastern Standard.
Just use Eastern time.
Eastern time. ET.
Yeah. That way we don't have to worry about messing it up.
Starting at 6:30, which is our typical start time. On location at Godfrey Daniels.
For those who don't know who a Godfrey Daniels is, it is a historic listening room on the south side of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Yep. We did our daily live streams during Music Fest from there.
Right.
We've got a nice working relationship with that organization, and so they're allowing us to use the space. 6:30 to call it 8, that time frame window is going to be mostly recordings of music that we receive from. And if you remember this from last year, we called it the Holiday Spectacular. It was with George Wacker and Lehigh Valley with Love, and it was that was a mixture of recorded music, live virtual bands, and then in person as well.
Correct. Right.
So across the whole evening, we had that. We also had some local guests. So that first hour and a half is going to be the recordings and maybe some local guests. The whole evening, we're going to be trying to raise funds for New Bethany Ministries.
Correct.
So Mark Riddle, who is the executive director, we're going to probably have him on. We'll probably have Ramon on from Godfrey Daniels. So there might be some just local guests. And the whole point of that evening is going to be just putting people in the spirit. So the music is going to be holiday or winter themed. It doesn't have to be Christmas. It could be Hanukkah music. It could be Kwanzaa music. It could be Thanksgiving music. It could be New Year's music.
Yeah,
it could be,
and in winter,
winter stuff where it's just about snow or that kind of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff, and it'll all be, as you said, spirited.
In the spirit. Yeah. And then most people coming on, we're really just going to be saying, thank you to them. And we're going to be saying, what are you looking forward to the holiday season? What are you kind of talking about? So anyway, it should just be like a really good feeling evening, trying to do some good for Bethlehem and for people who are less fortunate. And then just sharing some really, really good music from some amazing musicians.
Yeah. So that'll be, it's going to be, and it's in a great space.
Yeah.
So
we think 8:00 and on will convert to where it's more of the in-person and virtual performers, where it's live in the moment.
So what Phil has also hinted at here is it'll be a longer show.
Yes.
And again, you the typical hour-ish. This one's going to be...
we think it'll be 3. So it'll probably be 6:30 to 9:30 is what we're kind of planning on. Hour and a half of recordings and guests, and then an hour and a half of just turning the camera to the stage and letting you enjoy some live performers.
Right.
But since it's longer, maybe just put it on in the background and make dinner, enjoy, your family, wrap presents if you're so inclined. But and if you can't tune in that night, as usual, it'll be available on demand right after it's over. So right on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook, it'll be available. And then we'll probably edit down the highlights for the audio version, to try and get it under, more like hour and a half, or release it as multiple.
It might get split into a couple episodes for the Audible one. Audible. Wow. Sorry, you said that earlier. My brain just tumbled.
There we go.
Audio one.
So we have strong commitments. We have people saying, I'm going to be sending recordings. I have people saying, I want to join live virtually. I don't really want to, I want to announce them a little more slowly as maybe I have things in hand or a schedule put together. But we can definitely start to share. Why don't we just do this? It's a great combo. We'll bring up the brand new website.
Oh, I see what you're going to do.
Yeah. And we pull from people who've been on the show. In one case, on both shows, last year and this year, we brought on someone who was a future guest instead of a previous one. So there is going to be some mystery there. But a lot of the people who've been on the show have been asked, would you send in a recording of a holiday music and a well-wishing, whatever.
Right.
And almost everybody says yes. So whether they can get to it, because a lot of them are on tour.
Yep.
It's holiday time for them too. Again,
for a lot of
you
these
have
bands,
COVID issues and stuff. So not everyone can deliver, but they want to.
They say yes with the best of regards, and Correct. It doesn't always mean that everyone can execute upon that, which is fine.
But here's the nice part is if we bring up the new website, we're going to show off the brand new website. You can talk about how you kind of laid it out and such.
Right.
And then it'll give people the pool of candidates that we're trying to pull from here.
That sounds like a place to start.
Yeah. So we kind of now have 2 sites in essence.
Correct.
There's the Stereophilia Studio, which is the name of the business, if you will, the organization that puts on the show, Your Next Favorite Band.
Correct.
So now this is like the hub. It's Stereophilia Studio, and it really only just promotes the show. It's a way to get in touch with us or keep a track of things. But who knows where Stereophilia Studio might go to down the road with more podcasts or shows or features of offering things that have tangential impact or connection to the show. So if you come in here and you just kind of then say, well, let's jump over to Next Favorite Band. It's now got its unique URL, nextfaveband.com, which is awesome.
Right. The URL matches the social handles because if
it's all Next Fave Band.
Right. All of them match that Next Fave Band pattern. So the new site is built around the episode model, if you will. So if you look at the top, it basically gives you an idea that we're always streaming. It gives you the schedule, gives you easy links to subscribe. So if you want to send this out to somebody you think might be interested, they like the audio, they like the video in there. And so what we end up with here is this is the latest episodes. They show up chronologically. So we can, you can see here, these are recent ones as we're working through them. As you work your way down, you'll get, and if any of these ones that you're interested in, look, there we are again.
That's our knucklehead banter mantra.
So if you can keep exploring. It's got everything all the way back. We're back to Godfrey Daniels, which we're just discussing as where we're going. But you can see we've got everything back to when Phil and I started to do this together, including the very first things we did, which was the best of season 1 highlights and wrap up, where we discussed some of the interviews that you had done prior.
And keep in mind, since we're pulling from 2022 guests, we did interview people January, February, March, April under Lehigh Valley with Love Music. So there's potential guests in there as well.
Correct.
So again, a little treasure hunt for everybody to go and see if they can guess who might be on the Winter WonderJam on the 13th.
It'll keep you guessing.
Yeah.
But one of the
hoping you might go in there and be like, gosh, I hope they're in it.
And one of the interesting things about this too is if you're interested in one of these things, you can click on any of the artists that might like tickle a fancy. So if you click on one of those, it'll drive you into a page.
Oh yeah, let me share that.
So if you were to choose one of these,
let's grab Fox Royale first.
Right, good.
So if we can do that one, there's kind of like a summary, the images, and then down here is you can listen to the podcast version. You can click right onto the YouTube version, and then some of the links that we always reference. Some of them we have in the beginning, and then some of them come up organically in the conversation that we're like, let's link to that. So
well, this one's actually a really good example of that. We have a lot of things. You would have links to the guests. We have information about their music. We have information about their social media stuff. But we talked to Nathan about stuff that he was working on. And we have both there's links to the article we discussed with him about working under COVID and the sort of oddball musical that he's done work with.
And then this is Accessible Festivals.
Correct.
Which is non-musician. So it kind of just kind of show how that's a little bit different.
Right.
And again, you can just kind of go back and forward based on the timeline of things. So I love the layout. Again, thank you so much, David. This is great. There's some other neat things here where I love the about page because it kind of gets into some neat facts about us.
Factoids about Phil and myself.
There's some interesting nuggets
if
there.
If you ever want to corner us and ask the bigger story about running into Bruce Hornsby. Or
I met Sergeant Slaughter and Dave Matthews. Not at the same time. That would have been awesome.
That to me feels like the greatest idea I've ever heard.
And then there'll be a new one here. I'm just about to finish editing the Godfrey Daniels sessions. So this is the podcast only version here. So I got to get it up to YouTube. So there'll be more content here. And then obviously after the holiday show,
will be another one.
There'll be another one.
Yep.
And then we'll be stitching together all the performances we've been having on the show, and that one will go out there.
Correct.
So I really like this page, and I think it'll continue to build out.
It's slowly growing as we go.
And then these are concerts and shows that we are personally interested in. This will continue to build out. We'll also take recommendations and feedback on, what else is out there. And then Music Fest 2022 is just going to get housed there so that each year it's like
it was there from before. It was one of those pages that moved over. We didn't want to make sure we lost it from the work that we had done before because we reference that at a time. And if you are catching an old episode, that is still valid for someone who might be that. So we don't want to make sure that just disappears into the internet ether.
The nether.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
So again, thank you for the website. Again, hopefully people can kind of peek in there and start to get a little bit hopeful about who they might be able to see on the show.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those
There's
things that
definitely, I do have definites from people in there that I trust will get me a recording. I just don't want to kind of, again, put them in a bad spot in case something gets in the way. We do have commitments from people who are performing that night.
Correct.
Again, a warning, and this will be a preview. We do have January already booked. And then a little bit even into February is basically in pencil. So we're already kind of doing January, even February, and offering March dates to people. So we are, able to really kind of keep things cruising in the new year. Some of those people are actually booked for the show. So like, even if you go to the website and review things, you're not going to actually find everyone. So there's definitely, again,
using the Christmas Carol model. This is the ghost from Christmas Future,
That's the ghost
if you will, that has now shown up.
That's perfect.
Yes,
because basically we will have definitely some from Ghost of Christmas Past of Lehigh Valley with Love guests.
Yep.
Then we're gonna have Ghost of Christmas Present people who've been on the show very recently, and then we're gonna have Ghost of Christmas Future people. We're gonna keep that in.
I think the Christmas Carol model is something you could apply to almost everything.
Absolutely.
And in this case, it works out really well.
Yes, it really does. So yeah, that's that. And what I'm really, really happy about is the fact that not only is that all falling into place, but the pool of scheduled interviews is already taken hold for 2023.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I mean that is an interesting time of the year for musicians. It's a quieter time for a lot of musicians. Some musicians tour heavily during that period of time, but it's not often because a lot of them are gearing up for spring or summer at that point in time, and it'll be interesting to see how that all ramps up when we get to that. I mean, I'm really intrigued by the next conversations we're going to have.
Yes, yeah. We're definitely going to close out this year strong in those different ways. The weeks after, so like if you're looking at December 20th, 27th.
Right. The last one we're really recording is December 13th.
Yes.
After that will be.
So 20th and 27th might be empty, or I might grab like an episode to just play as a repeat. Or I might
highlight reel.
I'm trying to stitch together something because there's another highlight reel. There's another empty slot actually. January 13th. No, not 13th.
Somebody look at a calendar and tell us what day that is.
17th. I'll be on my honeymoon. I'm getting married in January.
Yeah. Fun fact, Phil is getting hitched.
So with that, I am planning on putting together like a 2022 like best of moments.
Or it's finally my time to get on here. My manifesto will roll out.
You can absolutely do that. Just hit the go live button and
1 week of like, here we are. We finally get to
David
Moore.
Moore.
It's right. It's oh God.
Yeah, you could have your own like.
We're gonna throw back to my college.
You wanted more,
right? My college radio days where I guest starred on a guy who's had a radio show on from 2 to 4 o'clock in the morning. And we just played excerpts from the Transformers animated film as the music. And
that would sound, people would tune in for that.
We had people call.
Yep.
Because you gotta remember, this was in the mid 90s. People were like super excited. It wasn't as easy nowadays as where you just go to YouTube and you can find those things.
Yep.
We went through a lot of trouble.
So I just figured that would be a good one for like a 2022 year review kind of thing.
Yeah, it's something like
then because that will give me a couple extra weeks to edit in anything that happens in the December episodes. So I think my gut tells me 20th, 27th will probably be like, let's play one of those exclusive performance type things, and just let it play. And it may be again like some of the holiday stuff will be in there. And stuff just to, again, it's the season, so we might as well let that happen. But the 27th might be the 1 week that we don't have something go out there.
Silent.
Go dark for the week, and then kick it right back up January 3rd.
Yeah, just so you know, if you're a regular subscriber, there's nothing wrong. We may even just be like,
Happy New Year.
Yeah, we may even just record a 5-minute episode that kicks out if we know that nothing's going to happen. That turns into literally you and I saying, happiest of insert holidays here.
Correct.
Yeah.
So yeah. Thank you again all for tuning in. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, musicians. Yes, cheers.
Phil, cheers.
Here's to you. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Travel safe. Enjoy your family. And can't wait for everything that's already on the docket and what even isn't been found out yet.
Yeah, Phil, and I'll even quote you. We hope to see you at a live show soon.
That's excellent.
All right, Phil, let's say goodbye to everybody.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Your Next Favorite Band. It is our Knucklehead Banter gratitude version. Hope you enjoyed getting some of that sneak peek behind some of the music we recently saw, some of the things that we are uncovering as we got ready to speak to neuroscientists and podcast experts way beyond. He's been doing it 10 years or something like that, so he's got it way above. We'll learn a lot, let's say that. So looking forward to all that. Hope you all tune in for all of that, and then certainly for our Winter WonderJam at Godfrey Daniels, December 13th, 6:30 recordings, 8 o'clock live. Should be a lot of fun. And again, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy holidays for whatever you celebrate. If you don't, hope you have a great close to your year. It's happy and safe with family and loved ones, and are able to enter into the new year in a renewed spirit of discovery and trust and thankfulness. Hope to see you at a live show soon.
It's all over now.